Welcome to the Goth and the Sloth. I'm your Sloth, Matt.
And I'm Luna the Goth.
This is the podcast of two friends living a country apart and, burning it down from either end. We decided to take the first part of our podcast to discuss the COVID-19 pandemic, how it affects our lives, how it affects your lives, and why it's not over yet.
Yeah, it is not over yet, but maybe at some point.
There might be some light at the tunnel. We can discuss a bit of that today. So how have you been?
Uh, uh,
That good, huh?
yeah, just, How about you?
About the same. I've had some
Oh,
sore
alright.
gums for a week now. Now I'm worried I have to
Sore
go to
gums?
now I'm worried I have to go to the dentist.
Oh, that sucks.
We'll see. I'm gonna give it one more week because I hate the dentist. So
Yeah, but I mean, teeth are important, and so are, is your jaw
they
in
are,
general.
yeah. I don't know. The whole thing's a scam. I won't totally go into it,
Okay.
but well, you have to have two insurances. Because apparently part of your health isn't your teeth, so teeth are
Yeah, I don't get
optional.
it either.
And because and I don't think it's necessarily the dentist's fault per se, but the way the system sets up dentists feels like they always have to upsell people.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, you actually need to do this and do this too, and everyone needs braces. And
Yeah, I mean, I've never experienced that, but I can understand why it might feel that way, especially if you don't go regularly and then you do go and then it's like, well, actually, here are all the things that we need to fix. And you're like, can you just fix the one thing that hurts?
yeah, I can
Like,
still chew. Can we just get through that? I don't care how they look.
yeah. No,
Anywho,
I get it. It sucks.
so I don't know. We'll see, but keeping an eye on it. So let's jump into it. How's the greater Virginia area doing?
So we are down on all numbers, which is very good. In fact, the whole country is, which
Mm-hmm.
is good. We're starting to come back from that holiday spike. So we have 547,424 cases this week, which is 21,200 more than last week. We have 22,846 hospitalizations, which is up 811 from last week. And we are at 6,996 deaths in Virginia, and so that is 223 more people than last week. So people are still dying. This is still a big problem, even though the numbers are going down. You still need to wear your masks. Probably need to double mask,
Mm-hmm.
because of the new virulent uh, strains that are out there. So just a reminder that there's still a very heavy, big human toll to this.
Yeah.
We have 17 cases of multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children in the state, and we're at 11.7% of the population has been vaccinated with at least one dose so far. So that was up from 9.9% of the state last time. I think it's a smaller gain than the week before, but what it sounds like is that supply kind of dipped after uh, the previous administration made an order for stuff and the distribution has been lacking and blah blah blah. So I'm hoping that we're going to see more people getting vaccinated faster, which is part of Biden's initiative. So
All right.
we'll see.
Yeah.
What about Colorado?
So yeah, we're doing better on whole. Excuse my voice. I had band practice. So we're at 412,983 cases, which is up 8,000 week to week, which is our lowest since we talked about contact tracing. So that's good. 22,778 hospitalizations, which is up 500 week to week, about the same as last week. And 5,581 deaths, which is up 127 week to week. Again, is about as low as when we were talking contact tracing. And we're at a 3.4% positivity rate at the moment,
Oh wow.
which is
Okay.
also down, so that's also good. So looks like we're, hopefully getting back to summer numbers pretty soon here, which is always positive.
That would be nice.
We'll see kind of what brings. We're in that, nice part. Usually it's a negative part of the year, but the nice part of the year is that there's no holidays for like a really long time. It's that dead point in the year.
Yeah, it's the time of depression and taxes.
Yeah. So
So
hopefully,
maybe everybody will just stay home and not give each other the virus.
yeah. So we'll see. Not much news in the way of Colorado. We're still trying to get more vaccinations out. I didn't get our percentage, but hopefully, a friend of mine in London was able to get his. So that's
Yay!
exciting. So that's good.
More humans get the vaccine.
Indeed. And then there's been an update on the relief bill that they pushed the limit of like your household income to get it back
Mhm.
to 75,000. So
Is that set or is it still in
I think
negotiations?
it's still in negotiations, but that's
Okay.
last I heard. But that's where it was last time, so I'm assuming they'll probably just,
I
lock it in.
yeah, they'll probably stick with it. It's the moderates that need to that are going to make the decision here on this
Yeah.
because they have bargaining power.
Yep.
But uh,
So more people getting money, so that's always a positive. But
at some point, we don't know
yeah,
when, but
sometime.
at some point, hopefully that will happen.
So what's new in Luna's world these days?
So before we get there, I'm going to go over our national news update, which is pretty obvious for anyone that has eyeballs or ears. Um, the Senate impeachment trial for, uh, well, the former president was impeached by the House. The
Mm-hmm.
Senate doesn't decide whether or not he's impeached, but they do decide whether or not to convict him. And so today, the U.S. Senate voted to acquit the former president, Donald Trump, for incitement of insurrection against his own government. Um, so basically, I'm going to run down real. I mean, I'm about to like throw a ton of information at you all at once. So you can either listen to it all or, I don't know, skip ahead a couple minutes. Okay. So essentially, two-thirds of the Senate needed to, was need, two-thirds of the Senate was needed to vote for conviction, and to prevent him from running for office in the future. The trial started with a debate and a vote about the constitutionality of convicting a former president. 55 senators, a simple majority in the Senate, voted that it is constitutional and therefore the trial would continue. This was at the beginning of the week last week.
Yep.
Then the trial moved forward with each side getting up to 16 hours to make their argument after opening remarks. The Democratic House managers argued for the conviction of the former president, and the ex president's lawyers argued for his acquittal. With the constitutionality issue off of the table, they had to look at the facts, you would think. Um, the Democratic House managers made an emotional case. It was pretty heartbreaking. Lots of new footage of the riots, more details of the injuries sustained, footage of people yelling that they were there in the name of Trump if it wasn't obvious. And it went on and on and on. I highly recommend that you just go watch those things, but prepare yourself. It sucks.
Yeah.
Um, the ex president's lawyers floundered
Yep.
because they suck.
Yeah.
They were terrible. But they didn't have to make much of a case because, as we suspected, the minds of many Republican senators were made up, and weren't open to receiving the facts of the case. So really, the ex president's lawyers like just had to show up,
Yeah.
kind
Pretty
of.
much. That's pretty much what they did for the most part.
Yeah, that they showed up and rambled and made no sense,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow he still got acquitted. So right when things seemed to be over, the Democratic House leaders decided to call for a witness, which blew everything up because the ex-president's lawyers decided to, were like, oh, I'm gonna quote unquote call 100 witnesses to Philadelphia, blah blah blah. Um, but the Democrats ended up deciding to move forward. by simply putting the statement of the witness forward and not pulling witnesses, which would have stretched this out weeks, which has its own controversy. So, the statement, by the way, was saying that the House Majority Leader at the time, Kevin McCarthy, had uh, was trying to reach then President Trump on the phone during the riots and tried to get him to call it off. The Trump was like, "It's Antifa." McCarthy was like, "No, it's your supporters." And then Trump was like, said something along the lines of, "Oh, I guess they're just more upset about the election than you are." And McCarthy said, "Who the fuck do you think you're talking to?" And this would have been a powerful statement in any other situation except for apparently a Senate trial for the impeachment of a president for incitement of insurrection against his own government. But by the end of the day today, um, 57 senators voted to convict Trump and 43 voted to acquit. Yes, that's a simple majority, but you needed a supermajority to do this, so you needed 2/3 of the Senate. It's shameful
Yep.
and says everything you need to know about American politics right now,
Yeah.
really.
No, why?
It,
Like, who's setting these rules that it's like, no, you need to have a 99% rate? It's like, just like it's democracy, right? Majority rules, right? Like, why do we have
no.
to mess with the. Why do we have to jumble it up and make it muddy all the time?
I mean, there are a lot of reasons why it's that way, and I get it. Like, I wish in this case for sure that it would be a simple majority. But there are times when it's like we wouldn't want it if like the Republicans had a slim majority in the House and the Senate because then they could just pass anything just because they have barely more than the Democrats and they're representing just one half of the country. So you're giving one half of the country power to like change everything instead of like requiring bipartisanship to change laws or create laws or write laws. So I get it, but it just sucks um, because this is stupid.
Well, as we kind of talked last week, it's hard for rich white men out there. So it's good to
Ugh,
see a rich middle aged white man, get a win for once.
these guys aren't middle aged. Have you seen them?
Sorry, some elderly old white men.
They were crumbling on screen. Well, there are some middle-aged people, yeah, but it's funny. Like young people in Congress are middle-aged.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. Anyway, but I will say so. There's a little bit more. The drama wasn't over. After the vote to acquit, McConnell, Senate Minority Leader and verifiable turtle human. I swear he's like half turtle.
He is.
I don't understand it. But he came out of his shell with some of the most disgusting, with one of the most disgusting speeches, in my opinion. He basically listed how the former president was terrible, irresponsible, maintained the big lie, which was the the big lie, if you haven't figured out, is that the election was stolen from him and he won from in a landslide. So McConnell parroted every argument that the Democratic House managers made and said that they proved the facts of the case. And then he said that he voted to acquit because he didn't believe that it was constitutional to convict a former president. So, a few things, specifically three things. One, the Senate literally voted on this matter on day one.
Yep.
So if the Senate votes and the result isn't what you like, you can just ignore it in subsequent votes from now on?
Apparently.
What the fuck? Is it how this goes? Number two, the constitutionality of convicting a former officer is not widely debated. The vast majority of legal scholars agree that it is constitutional to convict a former officer. McConnell tried to make the point that the Senate would be setting precedent to impeach and convict people like private citizens willy nilly. First of all, no, you cannot. You can only impeach political officers. You
Yeah.
can't impeach Joe. like you can't impeach Tom Brady. I'd love to, but it's not possible.
Tom, you can't be president.
Oh God. Um, and political officers are president, vice president, speaker of the House, etc.
Yeah.
Secondly, what about the setting the precedent of the January exception, where a president can commit high crimes and misdemeanors during his last month in office because he can't be held accountable by Congress?
Yeah.
Is that not a dangerous precedent?
Right?
Like, what? Hello?
Last week, do whatever you want.
For real. And then number three, in response to McConnell's bullshit, Trump was president when he was impeached. The
Yeah.
articles of impeachment weren't brought to the Senate during his presidency because the Senate Majority Leader, who sets the schedule for his Senate, made clear that the Senate would not be called into session prior to President Biden's inauguration. The Senate Majority Leader was Mitch McConnell himself. He's just saying, like, "Oh, well, we didn't start the trial, or the articles of impeachment didn't come over while he was president, and we didn't start the trial." Dude, you were the reason why they didn't start the trial while he was still president.
Yeah.
You were the one. You said, "Well, we're not going to come back." In his turtle voice, he was like, "We're not going to come back into session." So, Nancy Pelosi and the House managers were like, "Well, how, like, then we have to have the trial after he's out of office." And because he made that decision and the trial was held when he was out of office, now he's saying, "Well, you just can't vote to convict it." I'm like, "Fuck you, dude." It just makes me so mad. It's funny, Nancy Pelosi, like, kind of ranted today, and I don't agree with her on a lot, but she came out and was just like, basically, in non-political speak, she was like, "You motherfucker." Like, she like came out um uh, to the press conference today, and I was like, "Yeah, I feel you, sis." Like, goddamn. So anyway, basically, it's all trash.
It is.
We will see the impact of this for years as Trump remains a political player, but now out of office. And what I personally cannot handle is that these people, including white supremacists, are now vindicated in their actions because their leader wasn't held accountable for calling them to act against our government.
Absolutely.
Even if they get tried and convicted, they can see themselves as martyrs for their leader who didn't do anything wrong in the eyes of Congress.
Yep.
That shit is fucked.
Yep.
Like, and they stormed the Capitol with disgraceful symbols of hate and murdered and maimed people and were helped out of the building and down the stairs and exited as calmly and quietly once Trump asked them to leave. And black and brown people in this country can't even have a Black History Month, February,
Mm-hmm.
to celebrate historical moments that weren't taught in school and we have to learn through social media and targeted internet searches without a bunch of faceless, nameless keyboard warriors coming out of the woodwork to say that they are oppressed by the existence of Black History Month and white people should rise up and reclaim it. Like, how are these two realities in the same fucking country? Like, someone get me out of here. Like, who needs a fuck? I'll work. Like, what do you need? Like, get me out of here. I'm so like frustrated with this whole situation, and
Yeah.
like I don't even understand how we have what happened today in the Senate and the acquittal of Trump for this insurrection for like stupid process arguments that were voted on.
Yep.
And then we also have like all these people that think that, black people are monkeys and, you can't be pretty if you're black and you can't do this, that, and the other. Like, just absolute racist trash just rising out of the woodwork.
Yep.
Like, it's just, ugh, it just makes me mad. Anyway,
No,
all right, we
but
can
there's
move on.
there's it won't be for the insurrection, but there are some lights maybe in the distance we can see, because I know Georgia and the state of New York are both looking to press charges against Donald Trump for various things. So he
Yeah,
could
that's
still
true.
be imprisoned if he still won't get a federal crime, so he'll still be able to run for office, but you
I
know.
mean, maybe he could be charged for incitement of insurrection if someone decides to sue him for it. I don't know. I don't fucking. At this point, it's like, yes, okay, he could go through the judicial system, which he, by the way, packed with like hundreds of conservative judges. Um, but so he could go through the legal system and see those consequences. But the fact remains is that Congress didn't do shit.
Yeah.
Like our fucking Congress, our Senate was like, "Nah, this is okay."
Yep.
Like fuck that. Like it's so messed up and like with a record number of people killed by the government during Trump's term. I think even just this year
Mm-hmm.
for like death row. Like
Yeah.
it's just we're living in two Americas, and as much as I wish I didn't have to say that, and as much as I don't want that to be the case, it just
It
is.
is. Yeah.
And it's very discouraging.
Yeah. Wish I could say something make it better, but it's just a fact.
Nah,
Yeah.
I mean this is just the way it is. Like, and I think that I mean I we've talked about it before on the show that like this isn't this particular issue is not um a race specific issue. This whole problem that I'm talking about right now is this lack of responsibility for people who are discriminatory or abusers or just they can't be held accountable. Like these people are not going to be held accountable.
Yeah.
And that goes for everyone that acts against, acts in prejudice against race, color, creed, sexual orientation, sexual expression, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's all the same conversation, but people of course are like, "Oh, this isn't about race." And it's like we know shit when we smell it.
Yeah.
Like it's the same shit.
It's a weird thing. Like the last 4 years, it felt like consequences just went out the window. Like there
Mhm.
was just no consequences for anything, and it seems like people
Not if you
forgot
have
that.
money. Not if you there's no consequences if you have money or if you like are a white like high school guy that or college guy that got prosecuted for rape or whatever, like you'll be all right. But like if you stand up for black lives or if you stand up with black and brown women who are being killed by cops, if you stand up for the trans community, you stand up for the disabled community, oh yeah, there are consequences for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Like so it's the classism is out of control. It's just all out of control. And I'm sure that like if I sleep on it, I might be like more calm tomorrow, but probably not. So,
Well, we can move on to a happier story since today is a two-topic day.
yeah, did you want to do any of your news? Like how's Matt doing?
I'm existing.
Okay. I didn't want to like not let you cuz I mean this kind of wraps into like how am I? Well, I'm like this. This is all shit. Um how are you, Matt?
Yeah. You know, I'm here. I'm around. It's good. It's been a standard week. Nothing new and crazy. It's very cold. I'm gonna throw that out there. It's 3 degrees outside right now. So
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys are dealing with some for realsies cold.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean it's cold here. We're in the middle of an ice storm warning.
Oof.
So, ice storm. That's not something that
Ice
I really dealt
storm.
with in Colorado.
No, because we don't have any moisture in the air to make ice.
Yeah. Actually, the snow outside looks crazy. It's like I've never seen it like this before. It's like because it snowed and then there was this ice storm, so then the snow like melted and then the freezing rain went on top. So now it's just a sheet of ice over the
Oh,
grass
jeez.
instead of it being snow. It's very confusing. I don't know what's happening outside. I'm just staying in here
I've
where
heard
it's
that's happened. I had a cousin that lived in San Diego and moved to Connecticut and went out to his car one morning and it was just a block of ice. Like just a sheet
Yeah,
of
I'm
ice.
worried. Genuinely worried that I'm not going to be able to open my car door tomorrow.
Oh, that's a piece of news is I did get my garage finally for my apartment that I had to badger them for. So
Whoa.
I have it until I
So,
re-sign my lease in May and then it goes away, but
oh, okay.
unless I choose to pay for it.
So are they giving you this because your car was stolen twice?
Yes.
Okay.
And I raised this big
All
old
right.
stink. But also, I think they're starting to realize because they did send out a note to everybody that like there's been more car thefts, more break-ins, more packages stolen, and I think they're finally kind of realizing like this isn't a great area. Like they're really nice
Yeah.
apartments, but the area is going downhill.
Yeah, and like you also have to think about like it's hard times. Like you're gonna have crimes of
Yep.
desperation rising 100%. Like absolutely, now is the time that you're gonna see that. So they should use their little fancy security team to help prevent it.
Yeah, just do basic things. But yeah, it's I actually saw an article that Colorado saw the biggest increase year over year in car thefts, and I'm like, you don't say.
Yeah, for real. And I would imagine that like the class divide in Denver is so big and like everybody's smushed together
Mm-hmm.
because all of the suburb, all the like sub Denver communities like grew together a long time ago. Like I just imagine that the crime is getting out of control in downtown Denver because you have a lot of really poor people and a lot of really rich people that moved in next door.
Yep.
But anyway,
It's
moving on.
interesting stuff. So yeah, so we actually have a second topic today. You want me to introduce this guy?
I'll give you a little tiny baby
All right,
introduction.
there we go.
Um, so it is something largely positive, as Matt alluded
Yeah.
to. So go us. So the city of Denver, my ex-residence and Matt's current place of residence, established the STAR program in June 2020, and you can take it away.
So yeah, so one of the big initiatives coming out of the Black Lives Matter movement and the most recent protests were defunding the police. And that can be seen on, different levels of fully getting rid of the police, just cutting back their budget, redistributing their work, and that's where STARS come in. So STARS is actually based off a system in Eugene, Oregon called Cahoots, where they're doing this same thing. So what they're doing,
Cahoots.
Cahoots, and it stands for something. They said it. This all comes from a Vice video I watched.
Hmm.
I can't remember what it was, but it was something where they came up with the moniker first, and then obviously filled out everything
Oh, it's
else.
like obvious that they tried to like make it work.
It,
Yeah, I hear
it's
ya.
like Shield in the Marvel movies. Like
Oh
that
Lord.
doesn't make any sense. Any of those words together. You just wanted it to be Shield. But anyways, what they're doing, at least in the STARS program in Denver, is they're sending a unarmed, ununiformed social worker and paramedic for non-emergency 911 calls and things that would be handled by a social worker or a paramedic.
Yay.
So the Cahoots program in Eugene has seen 20% of all 911 calls get sent to them, and less than 1% they have to call in police backup.
That's awesome.
99% they can handle it on their own. So it's they can meet with people and discuss their issues, help find them, rehome them if it's a homeless issue, figure out what the real problem is and without calling an armed police officer who just the sight of can trigger people and make you immediately freak out and go into, danger mode.
100%. Yeah, I am going to be 300% more anxious if a cop comes at me when I'm having a bad day
Yep,
than if it's like a paramedic or an EMT.
exactly. So this has actually been 2 years in the works in Colorado. It's just happenstance that it launched
Oh.
when it did. So they did a first wave in 2016 where they had social workers riding with police officers, kind of figuring out which ones they needed to handle and which and vice versa. And since June, as you mentioned, they have been on their own without police. And
Cool.
so it's going to be a 6 months to 1 year test project right now, and then from there, it will go into budgetary systems and kind of a decide if they're going to go for it and roll it out completely.
Very nice. So, because it's been 6 months, are they still in a testing period, or are they moving forward to like the budget decision making process?
They're still in the test process, last I checked.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think they're going to probably roll it more to a whole year, but they're at the point where they're pulling the numbers and seeing if it helped and seeing what it is. And they point blank asked the main lady for this if this is defunding the police, and she's like, actually, yeah, we'll be taking part of their budget. We'll be taking part of their calls. Now, currently, it is working with police still in tangent, and a lot of people would like to see it be an independent system.
What do you mean?
So, right now, the 911 call would go to the police. The police decide if it needs to go to stars.
Oh, okay.
Where people would want to see it, like if you call 911, you'd either get an ambulance, firemen, or police, but it'd be firemen, ambulance, police, or a stars person.
I see. Okay. So it's like the ones that go to police, the police still decide
Yeah,
rather than the dispatcher deciding.
exactly.
I see. Okay.
And then
Interesting.
that can get it out from under the thumb of of the police in general too,
100%.
where they
Yeah.
become their own thing. Where right now the Denver police is fully in support of it, but that can always change with a new sheriff or whatever.
Mhm.
And if they're under the police, they can easily snub it out or ruin it or do whatever. If it gets out from under that they don't have any control.
Yeah, yeah, I wonder who would oversee it at that point. Mayor, maybe? I don't know. But I think
That's
that
one of the
that's
many questions.
yeah, yeah, I could see. Okay. I think that's awesome. Like, I think that that's a great step forward. It's a good model, for other cities to take on cities and counties for more rural areas. And like, I just think, um, again, this is one of the many reasons why it's so important to vote locally. Look at
Hmm.
your down ballot options and make sure that you're voting for all the little guys because those are the people that are going to have sway over programs like this.
Yeah.
Very
But yeah,
cool.
this one's really cool, and yeah, I mean, it's feels like it's cueing the all the comments I see whenever there's like a crime story where they're like, "Send in the social workers," where
I know.
they're
Yeah,
intentionally being glib,
exactly.
but
Like
you
the
know,
little girl in what was it, Rochester, New York? The 9-year-old
yeah,
girl that was pepper sprayed in the back of the car because she was having a mental breakdown.
yeah,
It's like, guys. And then they released the footage recently that was like what they were saying to her as she was crying from the pepper spray. Like she's like crying. She's like, my eyes burn. It burns so much. Blah blah blah. And they're just like, well, that's what you get. And like, it's pepper spray. It's supposed to burn. That's what it's doing. All this stuff. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then they're like, well, an ambulance is gonna come to flush your eyes out, okay? But you gotta hold on. It's like, oh my god, you just pepper sprayed a freaking 9-year-old girl. Like, yeah, you don't. That doesn't happen when you send non-police officers to mental health crises.
yeah. So yeah, and it frees up the police to do more what they should be doing instead of responding to things where they have no business existing. At least at this moment, you can see it
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a
I hear you. At the same time, I'm like, what they should be doing.
protecting my car.
Okay, we'll give them that. Finding the people that are stealing cars instead of like spending a ton of time over policing communities of color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd say only finding them and then sending the social worker and the paramedic to discuss with them why they feel they need to steal cars.
Right. Yeah. Ugh. Gosh. This whole place needs reform. The
Oh
whole
yeah, no,
thing.
we need to just burn down this entire country and start
Like, can we
again.
just toss it out and start anew? I just did
Yeah,
some manic cleaning of my apartment and there's so much shit in the trash right now.
yeah, we definitely do that because I want to bring back the idea that was raised. I just watched a bunch of videos on it of a Native American state where
State?
they
Like
get their own
one
state.
state?
Yeah.
Where would it be?
The one that was proposed way back when was in the Ohio area.
The one I do want them to have like sovereignty and representation in Congress. Um, but the problem is that the whole damn place is their state.
This is true.
So to cut out a little piece of it that obviously people with power are quote unquote willing to give up is like opposite is the antithesis of like we should be giving them the highest value land we have. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, I agree with you, but it's a tough one.
It's a weird. That's my burning down the country and then redrawing all the lines kind of thing.
Right?
And we're
Yeah,
just
it's like we need like BIPOC right up there in the front being like, "All right, we're not doing this, this and this again." So, let's figure this shit out. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a crazy system, but at least I am encouraged by seeing these systems, the one in Eugene and the one in Denver happening,
yeah,
running. They're
yeah,
moving forward. I think that that's good. I hope more cities can figure their shit out and at least
yes,
do some trial programs with good oversight and good civilian oversight to make sure that there's no bias
yeah.
um,
And really,
from.
they got to look into Eugene because they've actually been doing it for decades. They've
Oh,
had
that's
that
cool.
system for a very long time, and everyone's like, no, we'll worry about it later."
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, I hope so. I think that that's great. Like, let's keep supporting these sorts of efforts and eventually, like, really fucking reform the police. That'd be nice.
Oh yeah,
Like
it's
I get that, a lot of people there are a lot of different versions of defund the police like you said, and most people aren't on the same page.
mm-hmm.
And that will take time to kind of boil down to will be best for everybody. Um but that being said, like things just can't continue the way they are. At least this is one tiny step in one direction.
Yeah, like many things in this country, we failed to move on things as the world progressed, and we just got in our rut of like, oh, that's how it's always been, and why should we change it? It's like because everything has changed.
Yeah, and I mean, I was talking with my parents earlier and it's like this is our first go at this bullshit. Like
Yeah,
ever all of those Western European countries and Eastern European and Asian countries, like they've all seen this shit before. They
yeah,
all got through all this stuff like and it changed the way their country operated forever. It's our turn. So, either we're going to let the fascists win or we're not,
well, hopefully not.
right? I still have a bid out there. If anyone wants to take me in, I'll just let me know what country you're in. I'll see what kind of work I can do. Like, just let me know.
You can
We
go
can
down
still do
to
the podcast. It'll just be international.
Antarctica. There's ways to get there.
I'm watching. This is in the next section, but I'm watching a show. That makes me not want to do that. Actually.
Well, let's get into that then, shall we? So, our distractions. What have we been doing to distract ourselves with from the failings of democracy?
So I'm watching this show called The Head. It's on HBO Max. It's really good. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's the showrunners are Japanese and Spanish.
Okay.
Um, but it's like there's a lot of Danish speaking people in it, so it's I mean, it's cool. It takes place in Antarctica, and it seems to be some sort of mystery show so far. Like very,
Hmm.
very like a big homage to the thing right up front, but it doesn't seem to be like there's some crazy supernatural element or extraterrestrial element. But I don't know. I haven't finished the show yet, so that's been my distraction lately. What about you?
Well, most of my shows took a break because of the Super Bowl. So, I've been watching WandaVision, still Next Gen, and Rebels. But on top of that, been continuing my Fast Fridays. Yesterday was Fast and Furious 6.
Hmm.
That's the final one with Gal Gadot in it.
Oh, okay.
And the last one, at least the tease at the end of this one, is the one before Jason Statham comes in. I'm very excited for Jason Statham to come into this.
Okay, then.
Because, that's extra insanity that you can always enjoy in a movie.
I mean, I do love Jason Statham, but he's the same character every time. So,
He has two characters.
okay.
He has Turkish, because
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen him play anything else like Turkish, and then everything else that he plays.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. That's fair. But
Uh,
yeah, I mean, I like Jason Statham, so that's
so
awesome.
yeah, excited for that. Then also getting through the Conjuring universe, and I
Mm.
watched Annabelle last night, and I was like,
Uh.
I thought people liked this because this is bad.
Oh yeah.
And
The
then I
whole
looked it
Conjuring.
up, and it's not
Yeah.
good.
No.
No one liked that either. So
No. No. I mean, and I am saying this slightly pretentiously, and I understand that, and I don't really care. Um, the Conjuring the I do like some of the movies in the Conjuring universe, but they are definitely like mainstream popcorn horror.
oh yeah,
Like that, it is not like the horror that sticks to your bones and you think about later. It's not Hereditary. It's
well,
not,
yeah.
you know, Martyrs. It's not The Strangers. Like this is 100% like popcorn mainstream horror.
Oh yeah, no, and they do all the tricks. Like the whole thing that it's quote based on a real story is the first trick of like this is scary because this really no, it didn't really happen.
It didn't happen.
Come,
Yeah.
shut up.
Mhm. Yeah, and the use of CGI is egregious.
So
Um,
far, it hasn't been bad in Conjuring and Annabelle, but
you just
it's
keep
gonna get
going.
there. Yeah, I'm sure.
But I mean, I will say it's not like the worst as far as because there are some where I'm like, I won't even watch this anymore. Like, I have to turn this off. It's just CGI, big mouths, and dark eyes, and I'm like, it's the same fucking. Oh. Like, will you actually do something entertaining or like ingenuity here? Like, can we get something different than like, oh my gosh, she turns around and her mouth is big. Ah! Like, okay, there that it's every single time. Like something different, please.
Agreed.
I
And
watched a really interesting. I'll have to find it and send it to you. But it might only be on Shutter, so maybe not. But uh, it was actually a movie that I thought took all of this like same tropes of current like modern horror and just like changed it slightly and just made it like more interesting to watch. And I wanted to give them some credit, but I don't remember who they are, so I'll try to remember next time.
interesting enough. So, and then yeah, this week's been weird because I've gotten also a big bug up my butt about doing a custom guitar. I don't know why, um,
Okay.
but I've never I've played guitar since high school,
Mhm.
and you could not ask me how a guitar works.
Okay.
And so I kind of want to change that. I want to rip one apart and maybe, attempt to paint one, maybe do some custom stuff,
Hey, why not?
mess
That sounds
around
like a
with
great
it.
project since we don't get to
So,
leave our houses. So,
exactly. It is going to unfortunately have to wait mostly till summer, but
yeah.
it,
I don't think we'll be
because,
leaving our house as much in summer
oh,
either.
yeah, no. I think I'll have plenty of time, but like, yeah, you can't work in a garage in Colorado in February and March. Like,
Oh
that
no, you
just is
die.
not a
Yeah. Although they make those parabolic heaters now that where like it's just a beam of heat directly to your body wherever you are in the room. So you could just like stand in the parabolic heater range and work, but if you step outside of it, you freeze and die. So it's up to you.
there you go. But yeah, so I don't know why, but it's just something I want to try. Yeah, so I want to get a cheapo guitar from like a pawn shop for like $100, tear it apart, see what I can play around with, and see what happens.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, change out. I mean, there's a lot of ways to
Oh yeah, you
customize
can
guitars.
customize. Yeah, if I want to get a kit at some point, 'cause you can get guitar building kits. And
Mhm.
then one weird thing I had an idea for. It's gonna be a while till I get to it, maybe years, but I kind of want to do it. A 7-string Fender Telecaster
Okay. You want
because
to make it or what?
yeah, I want to make it. I want to make
Oh,
that.
okay.
It's
Cool.
stupid. No one needs it, but
They exist. They're out there in the wild, so I mean,
I don't
it's
know.
not impossible.
A lot of the guitarists I like do a lot of cool custom stuff, like Wes Borland and Tom Morello,
Mhm.
and it's like I kind of want to, yeah, I want to make my guitar, my instrument, my guitar.
Yeah, go for it.
But I
Yeah.
got to learn about it before I tear apart the one I've had since high school.
Oh yeah,
So,
maybe don't do that. Get a different one and tear that one apart.
yep. But yeah, so that's all been occupying my time recently.
Yay, that's fun. Something fun to think about.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's move into our favorite part of the podcast, only in a pandemic.
Or major civil unrest.
Stories that can only happen in a pandemic or major civil unrest. What do you got for us?
So only in a pandemic, is it really truly possible to live entirely out of your dryer?
I'm
Like
sure that's
no
only in a
one
pandemic.
Well, no one is coming over, so you don't have to see like anything. Like I can just have a trail of clothes from the dryer to my bedroom, and only I know which ones are clean and which ones are dirty, and no one can judge me for it, which is kind of beautiful.
I mean, I didn't judge you for your line of clothes throughout your apartment
I
last time
didn't
I was
have a
there.
line of clothes when you came over, thank you very much. I cleaned my apartment, but today, I'm lately I'm just like, usually my brand of depression starts to show in my laundry habits, and I ain't doing laundry right now. You
There you
couldn't
go.
pay me.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
no,
maybe you could pay me.
yeah, no, I cut way back because I used to, when I go in the office, I'd have my office clothes. I get home and
Oh
get
yeah.
into Laxi clothes, and I'd have a ton of laundry by the end of the week. And now it's like, well, I wear garbage all day, every day. I could probably
Yeah.
do it once a month.
Well, I mean, I still have the need to do laundry because I still teach classes and stuff. So like I have laundry to do, and then when I run out of stuff, I wash it and then I dry it and then wear it out of the dryer back to my hamper, and then when I don't have anything in the dryer left, I wash it and put it back in the dryer and I live out of the dryer. Like my closet is just a disarray of random items that I have looked at on hangers and like took off, put on, and then took it off and just threw it there. Like it's all absolute trash right now, but
Although
I
that,
can get away with it.
there you go. Although that sounds like the way I do dishes. I don't put them away. I just take everything out of the dishwasher when it's clean and
Oh,
just
100%.
use it out of the dishwasher. And then once
Mhm.
I'm out of dishes, then I fill it back up again.
Literally the only time I ever get anything out of my cupboard is when my partner's here. Because otherwise, it's just me and the dishwasher. Me, sink, dishwasher. Me,
Yep.
sink, dishwasher. Like, that's all it is.
And this is why we're friends.
Yep, indeed. What about you? What's your only in a pandemic story?
Only in a pandemic do I feel like I can truly, finally enjoy snow.
Oh, look at
Because
you.
I don't have to drive in it. I don't have to shovel. I don't have to go out in it. I can look out my window and go, oh, oh yeah.
See, now do you see why everybody likes it?
Because yeah, if you those of you out in podcast land don't know, like I have a huge vendetta against snow, because
And winter in
and
general.
winter in general. It's true. Because like whenever it snows, all I think about is like, I gotta wipe off my car and I have to warm it up before I go anywhere. Then I have to almost die driving around, and it's like I have a huge like I get super like grabby, like steering wheels like ripped apart sometimes because how hard
Oh,
I'm grabbing it in
God.
the snow. It freaks me out to drive in it, and
That's fair.
if I have to go in the office because Colorado rarely does any business do snow days. They're like, just
Oh, yeah.
get in.
No snow days.
And so it's like, you still got to drive in it. But now I can just enjoy it and go,
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
it's really nice. And I love that, like, that blanket of quiet that it brings. Like,
Yeah.
it's really. Oh, I'm so happy that you're starting to see the nice part of winter
Yeah.
and snow. Good for you.
So, yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap this guy up with our hermit level on the Leonardo DiCaprio scale. A 10 being Oh, I had one for this. Catch me if you can, and you've been living out of a hotel by yourself and you haven't seen anybody because you're stealing money from the government. Or a one is you are in Romeo plus Juliet and you're in the Capulet party mansion hanging out with everybody.
Hmm. So I'm at like a 9.5. I worked even more this week. I didn't sit on my couch at all this week until yesterday. Um, and I only worked in the studio 2 days out of the week because of snow days. So yeah, I haven't been seeing people.
Yeah, it happens.
Yep. What about you?
I'd say probably an eight. I saw the band, which we just got done, and that's about it. Went grocery shopping last week, and that is it. I have not gone or done anything. So
Yep. Snow helps with that too.
yes, that'll help with that. So yeah, no, just hanging out.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's the way it be.
it is. So where can people find us at if they also want to complain about the government and agree with you?
Or, as a lot of people like to do, not agree with me. Um, so I am at LUNA_MINUIT at Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find us at Goth and Sloth on Instagram and Twitter. What about you, Matt?
And we're also on Gmail, Gotham slash Gmail. You can throw that out
Right,
there.
right, 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 right. Right.
Um,
That too.
and, and I also do want to say Doug's been our band learning about TikTok guy, and he
Aw.
totally found you on TikTok and was excited.
Yay!
So you can find me on Twitter at wizard_Matt. Instagram is wizard cosplay. My band is Leonardo Band on Facebook and SoundCloud. And my YouTube channel is Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Don't really have anything new recently, but working on stuff. And my personal band is Matthew James Music 2020 on SoundCloud.
Hooray! Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. And yeah, sorry about that rant, but not really, not sorry at all.
Yeah,
And wash your hands.
and wear your mask.